No further discussion and registering that Mr. Bauer's vote is reluctant. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous.
Even his eye was a little reluctant.
Yeah, his
Dragged
reluctant- his
behind
eye was-
everybody else.
It was delayed.
All right.
Delayed.
Did you vote?
Yes, he
Or
did.
I just want to check.
He voted.
All right,
Okay.
so we're 5-0. Is this the first time that Cliff has voted yes on the budget?
No, he's voted yes before, but
You have?
always reluctantly.
With huge reluctance, only because if we don't vote for that, then it probably is nothing, right?
I do want to, Mr. Bowers and I were kibitzing up here for a second, but we don't have a grant writer in this town. We don't have a human resources director. We don't have librarians or media specialists at our libraries, except at the high school.
We don't offer Mandarin.
And one of the things that we have on our agenda tonight is the school committee's self-evaluation. And we're using the MASC document
Right.
that has all of the different criteria for that. And one of the items in there is about, having a human resources
Right.
person and having this other person and we don't have any of those. And so we are unable to meet the expectation
Correct.
because we don't have those
Right.
people. And we don't have those, and other aspects of the self-evaluation is the same sort of thing, where we can't do it, we can't promote better education because we just flat out don't have the money to do it.
Right.
And we're working on fumes, as they used to say, with your empty gas tank. We're running on fumes, and there's only so long you can run on fumes before you run out, because before the machine stops.
So true.
So I know that the selectmen are having their budget hearing tonight. I don't know if it makes sense for if someone wants to step out of the room and let the selectmen know
I'll
what.
text them.
Could you let them know what we
They all have
voted?
their iPads.
What we voted for our budget tonight? Because I'm sure they would be interested in that while they're sitting there at their hearing. Next, we have the fiscal year 12 technology capital improvement plan.
Yes, thank you. Recently, we had a conversation with the Finance Committee Chair and Vice Chair to discuss the FY12 recommended school district budget and the tech capital improvement plan as part of the larger capital improvement plan proposal that had been put forward. So I'm going to ask Carl now to talk a little bit about funding options that were under investigation and where we are at as of today.
Thank you. When we had this discussion with the chair and vice chair of the Finance Committee, Mr. Kelleher suggested that we look into some other options. We've been accustomed to doing lease purchases whereby we develop a contract with a Dell or a major computer manufacturer, and we develop a lease purchase plan whereby we're able to get all of our goods on day one and pay for them over 3 years, and at the end of that 3-year period have a $1 buyout. That's been the model we've been using for several years. Mr. Kelleher suggested that we, instead of in effect using the manufacturer to borrow money from, that we use the muni bond process. In other words, have the town of North Reading go out, as it does with other large capital purchases, such as the one that we're considering, that being the little school boiler. So we contacted I contacted the finance director, Mr. Tassoni, to find out what procedures we need to go through for that to be under consideration. Of course, our large capital plan has yet to, I'm not sure the selectmen have yet to take a position on that yet, nor has town meeting, of course. So this is just preliminary planning at this stage. And Mr. Tassoni then contacted Mr. Mosseri and Mr. Balakonis to note that we were considering that as a different approach. And both Mr. Mosseri and Mr. Balakonis wrote back to state that they had some concerns with the town's level of debt at this point, particularly given the fact that some of the funds that are used for debt consolidation have been used for operating budgets in recent years. So While I don't think that there's been an official response to that notion yet, it appears that those two individuals are not sure they would support such an effort. And if they didn't, that would mean that we would revert to our previous plan, that being that we would go out to the marketplace and do the lease purchase. Because I think it's important that we try to access as much as we can day one, so we didn't have to wait 3 years and roll it out. It's really the approach that I think makes a lot of sense. So that's where we are with the funding situation.
On this topic, I got the distinct feeling at the last finance planning team meeting that the only item that is going to show up on the town meeting is the boiler at the little school. Now, I might be completely wrong about that, but I got the feeling they even want to put off the technology until the fall. Well, I will see. But that was the feeling that I walked away with. And now the selectmen haven't taken a vote on that, but because of the concern of borrowing and using debt stabilization. So we'll see. I mean, I think the boiler is a necessity. And we could put it off, but we're risking the school having to close down if that one boiler goes. So, any questions on the technology capital improvement plan?
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
I'm in the process of sending that letter to the town administrator regarding the specifics that we are requesting in the capital improvement plan. And we had increased the technology by 30,000 for next year. And we did that at the meeting when we were at the Batchelder School. Are we continuing to move forward with that recommendation to include that 30?
Yeah.
We are. Okay, thank you.
Next, we have the school committee self-evaluation, which we all had a form to fill out.
Yep. So I've received forms from 4 of the members,
Yep.
and what I want to do is compile all that information. Well, Cliff and I will compile it. But
Sorry, Cliff.
I heard her say it. You heard her say
Yeah,
it.
aye.
The I.
Yeah.
She said I. She said I.
I did, the royal eye. I don't know what that means. But thank you for filling that out, and we'll just
We
compile
have
that.
one more.
Yeah, Michael will
one
be getting his
more.
in.
Michael's
But
not
we'll put
in
it
yet.
together,
He's
and
committed.
then we will present it
Awesome.
and discuss it in open forum.
And it was interesting filling out that form. There are things on there that don't apply, like failing schools, and it's good to be able to kind of ignore those
It is,
questions
isn't it?
because they're just not applicable.
Yeah,
Don't worry about those. So
yeah, thank
You
God.
at least put one, right?
I did.
I put NA.
I put
Okay.
one.
Well, I think it's interesting because we are piloting this form, and I think we need to tell
I put one.
MASC about the applicability.
Right, because there are many districts that don't have failing schools and don't have to deal with those issues.
Right.
So
So thank you for.
I think a lot of it was, I think it was good. I mean, I found it interesting,
Those-
reading the questions and then looking at some of the,
What it meant.
what it meant.
I
Yeah.
disagreed with I'm like, there's an area in between.
Yeah,
here.
that was a problem.
I almost checkmarked in between in a couple.
I
of them,
did.
to be
I
honest with you.
checked marked in
0.5.
between on
Yeah,
some of
that-
them.
Those will be problems for those people, those persons.
But those
Right.
questions,
Person
you didn't
who
come up
is-
with those questions.
No, that's
Those-
just the MA.
Who is,
that's
Yeah.
the
who's
MASC.
Actually, I
gathering-
was pleased to see how either embedded we were or
Right.
how, on a lot of those
Yeah, isn't
areas.
this
We're not doing bad,
No.
that's what you're saying.
No,
Yes,
yeah.
I think I found the same
I
thing.
found
I was
it-
trying to be somewhat objective, but
I
it
was-
still seemed like we were
Yeah.
there.
And there are some that I've put a little arrow on, because we're obviously moving
Right,
from one
moving
to
from-
the
yeah.
other.
Yeah.
That's interesting. So
Those will be harder
we'll
to-
talk about this at our next
Yeah.
In May.
session.
Okay.
And also, Mr. Bowers will be making a presentation about I'm volunteering him, isn't that great? About the superintendent evaluation process. We are
Oh, right.
getting to that phase. and
That's when we need to sharpen our pencil.
Indeed, but don't erase anything, because it's public record.
Right.
I had something on that somewhere.
So we're proposing that will come forward at the May 9th school
Yep.
committee meeting.
Yes.
Well, we need to, we'll be having our reorg at the May 9th meeting, correct? Because
Mhm.
so the next chair, fortunately, will get to negotiate with our superintendent for next year. The current chair won't have that good fortune, I don't think.
Aw.
So, anyway, we need to move this along because,
Yes.
It's part of the
There's-
contract.
There's a
okay,
part of the contract
Right.
is that between I guess after May 15th to June 30th time period.
Right,
We
okay.
have to do this.
okay,
And so that on May 9th, we'll have a rollout.
All right.
And the superintendent will provide us with a self-evaluation as a handout.
A portfolio.
Okay.
And, and then we'll discuss the process where we make our evaluation and roll it back in. It'll all be done in public.
And we will review all the open meeting law
Right.
stuff, because I know we're all new to that.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
need some refreshment.
I think we just actually received an email.
There was something
did.
new.
On the open meeting law, which is
Right.
very convenient
Related,
around
right. Rate of
evaluations.
evaluation, yeah.
Yeah.
So we
So
have
we
that
can
handout.
introduce that, yeah.
Yes.
Thanks to MASC.
Okay, now North Reading Middle School presentation, we've gotten that, the additional preschool session, Mask Day on the Hill.
Yes, on March 29th, there was the MASC Day on the Hill, and Superintendent and I attended that. It was actually a very good event. There was an awful lot of Department of Education and DESE bashing that went on. Dorothy Presser, the president of MASC, started by framing the day, and the first speakers were Katie Roby, the past president. She was followed by Penny Blackwell, the president-elect, and they basically highlighted the need for a bigger pool of money for education.
That's a surprise.
Not
Shock.
much of a surprise. And they highlighted that should not mean more for DESE Malden, that should mean more for schools.
Right.
That they made the point that the foundation budget is 20% low. That's incorrect. It's actually 30% low, at least. They felt that there needed to be a high-risk pool of money for high-cost special ed kids that's fully state-funded, so that specific districts are not hit by very expensive special ed. That transportation needs support, that there needs to be funding for mobile kids that we probably don't have too many of those in this district, but kids who move from place to place fairly frequently. That there should be a full assessment of all new regulations and to stop over-regulation. Fix charter school problems.
Well, that was a huge can of worms just right there.
That's basically, they said that, schools get blamed for everybody else's failures, from parents to social programs, that schools get blamed in the end when kids don't make it. Then Senator Sonia Chang Diaz, who's chair of the Senate Committee on Education, spoke, and she said, don't write the agenda without talking to real people, maintain urgency, replicate things that have worked, close the gap, get all the parties as part of the solution. The parents are the most important educators. That, we've made the point here that 97%, we brought that up several times, and it's recognized by people at the State House. One-size-fits-all solutions that don't work. Dialogue is important. Then House Majority Leader Ron Mariano spoke, and he said that they might better the governor's budget. He understands the problems of finance. One of the things that was interesting about these people, each of them being in a fairly important position in the State House, is that many of them have been sitting at this table. They've been members of school committees, and they understand the issues to be dealt with. Then Representative Alice Payesh, who's chair of the House Committee on Education. We had Majority Leader in the House and the chair of Education in the Senate, and now this is the House Chair on Education,